Welcome to the Lifestyle Chase. This podcast features high performers who have found a way to live their best life while balancing their health, wellness, friends, and family. Proudly hosted by me, Chris Little. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to episode 23 of the Lifestyle Chase with the one and only Boomerang master, Vance Bosch.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
How's your day going so far?
It's good. It's relaxing. It's day off today, so kind of chilling, catching up on some stuff.
And despite this is like one of your low-key days, it's still a pretty busy one. Take us through what you did so far today.
Today, what did I do today? Not much. Like, in the grand scheme of things of my days, not much. I was downtown. I had a meeting to do. We have an inventory control system that takes some maintenance sometimes, so sat down with our chef and the GM of that store for a little bit and went through some of that. Went to KB&Co to grab some breakfast and checked out Dosk, the new place on 104th. Just been meaning to check out all the new places, so I got some coffee there and then did some work at the ranch, and then I'm here.
Sweet. Now take us through a day of work.
Oh man, like I guess it depends on what day, because it's...
Let's say it's one where you're doing like the morning portion.
The morning portion, okay, so I'll take you through Tuesday, because that's like, tends to be one of my more hectic days. So Tuesdays start, I usually get up around 4-ish, something like that. Because I don't like to like get up and fire alarm start my day. So I'll get up at 4, kind of get my coffee, do my shake. I have like a little morning routine. I do like the human charger earbud things with the UV light. It's kind of cheesy, but it seems to work for me. I do like a little morning routine with some burpees and a little yoga flow. It's like 5 minutes max, but it kind of gets me going in a good headspace. Do my shake, check my Instagram, try not to be on my phone before my food. Like that's kind of one of my things is like no coffee, no phone before I get some food in me. And then shower, get ready, go to work. Try and be there for 6. Nobody's there yet usually when I get there, so it's not like if I roll in at like 6:30, nobody's like, hey, like, where you been kind of thing. So I get in there 6 o'clock, 6:30, try and get a head start. And then, that's like entering invoices, checking on inventory, making sure we're set up for counts, looking through the logouts, because usually Sunday I'm off. Sometimes Monday's kind of admin, but I might not be there for a few days, so I want to catch up, make sure everything's good. It's a huge admin day. Like there's payroll, there's all of my invoices, my accounting, my inventory, my numbers, cost of goods, all that stuff. And then we open the restaurant at 11:30. So I open the restaurant, do front of house stuff for that. And then, just kind of support the floor, whatever, do bank deposits, run our weekly team manager meetings. And then I try and get out for 3. Which usually ends up like 4 or 5 o'clock kind of thing. And then I swing by Central Downtown on the way to the ranch because we have like our weekly kind of reconciliation sales stuff that I have to drop off. So usually Tuesday's like 6 to 6, 6 to 7 kind of thing. And that's it for my work day. Easy day.
Damn.
Not bad. Yeah.
So how do you like find balance amidst like say the Christmas season, because that's probably when you get pretty busy? What do you do to keep your sanity?
Honestly, I've kind of I try not to have a fatalistic outlook on it, but like December's crazy. There's no balance. Like I don't know, maybe there's some restaurant operators out there that I should be getting advice from, but there's no such thing as balance in December for me. It just doesn't exist. I have to work more. You have to work more as a restaurant owner. So December is already crazy. You have family stuff, plus all the bookings, plus you're just busier for walk-in volume. Balance to me is getting my little UV ear pods in the morning to get some sunlight on my brain, having a shake, and getting an opportunity to see my wife before she's asleep.
That's a thing though. Like, people overlook our habits that we put in place. Imagine what life would be like if you didn't do those 3 things.
Totally. It would be a mess. I was just actually thinking, I did a post today in my story about supplements. So I read Aubrey Marcus's book, and I know you're not a huge fan of it, but I thought it was a good book, like coming from kind of a beginner, general overview of things. So I was like, hey, this guy seems to know his shit. I'll check out his supplements. Went to Onnit website, and there's this, total human supplement kind of regimen thing. So there's a day and a night, and I was like, I like the book. I buy into this guy's stuff. And I was kind of raised in like a naturopathic, hippy dippy kind of, household. So I'm like, supplements, like, they work. I know they work. I've used them before. So I tried them I'm in my 2nd month now, and I'm like, I cannot deny that this stuff works. Like, I am mentally sharper. I'm more alert. Like, energy is more sustainable throughout the day. I'm sleeping better. And then today it kind of dawned on me. I was like, and this is December. Like, December is the month that almost every year guaranteed I get sick. Like, I don't get sick often, but it's when I wear myself out. And, I still feel a little bit of the post-holiday burnout, which it's hard not to. But, like, this year I didn't get sick once. I was sleeping fairly regularly. And yeah, I just felt good. Like, my moods were pretty high most of the time. And it was a great December. So between shakes, the UV light things, and the supplements, like, I'm feeling like I got a pretty good routine started. So now it's just like, let's get back to the gym, let's get back to some workouts, and kind of build on that foundation. But that's kind of at least I've got that foundation built. So now that December's over, I can have a life again.
Yeah, you can start building those bricks on the wall.
Totally.
Take us through what high school was like for you. That's a question I like to ask of people because it kind of gives you some perspective of what they were and what they became.
Sure. High school wasn't bad for me. I've been super competitive my whole life. Grew up in a pretty big family, and I was the oldest. So I think I kind of always, I had that high standard, like, even just implied, like, maybe I made it up in my head, but I always thought that, like, I had to be the best. Like, I had to lead by example. I was always competitive, had to win everything. So by the time I hit high school, I kind of had my growth spurt, and, like, I was very athletic. Like, I played, man, the only sports I didn't play in high school were curling and golf. Like, anything I could get my hands on, and I worked like 3 jobs during high school too. So I was like, go 100%. So it was pretty easy getting along with people in high school, just because through sports, you just make connections. Like, you just automatically, even if, you're a socially awkward person or whatever, you play sports, you get to know people, and you respect each other, and you kind of build that camaraderie with each other. So socially, I feel like I was in a pretty good place by high school. I always got pretty good marks without studying, which was nice because I didn't like studying. Like, I had no time for it, made no time for it, and somehow I pulled it out. Actually, you know what? This is my little humble brag right now, because I never really did anything with schooling after high school. I dropped out of post-secondary, but that's another story. I got a letter of congratulations from the Minister of Education on my English and social diplomas. Because I scored like 96 and 98% or something like that. So that's like that's my academic thing, my achievement.
Yeah, that's good though. So you'd say, would you be more of a jock, or just you got along with everybody?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't a jock. Like, I wouldn't say I was like hanging people up on the fence by their underwear kind of thing. But I wasn't, by the time I hit high school, kind of the bullying was like, those phases were done, and I was like a little more mature and more personable, and just made better connections. So I guess I was kind of like, I'd probably be a floater. I guess I'd be a bit of a floater, like, just in all the social circles. I was at the parties, threw a couple of parties, but I wasn't like, if I didn't go to a party, certainly nobody would be like, where's Vance? Oh my gosh, like, where is Vance? We need to check on him.
I have a funny story. So, like, my high school experience, I was fairly athletic, but, like, I wasn't, like, the most athletic. I really liked gym class. There was one semester I was in, like, 3 of them. And when it came to parties, and especially drinking, like, I don't think I had an ounce of alcohol until I was, like, exactly 18. And then it wasn't until I was, like, 19 or 20 that I would, like, drink at a bar or anything like that. Like, I had a rum and coke with my brothers on my 18th birthday in Leduc. Like, that was my thing. So everybody that would know me from high school, like, if they saw me at a party, like, even the grad party, they'd be like, what is he doing here? But ironically, like, one of my shifts at Central, there was a girl that was there that went to high school with me, and she looked over at me behind the bar, looked away, then looked again, then looked away, then looked again, and I think, like, between the fact that I've shaved off my head and everything, like, not head, but hair, she probably wasn't believing what she was seeing.
Yeah.
But it's just neat how, like, things change. Like, I'd say I'm more of, like, a health-oriented person who likes a good beer. Like, I'm not, like, I've definitely adapted because I find it helps me relate to more people. And I also enjoy relating to my hype man. I don't know if you know who the hype man is. Yes, Sean Freeman. The hype man.
I always see you repost this stuff.
Yeah. Well, and then you went to the Brick and he helped you out. Hey?
Yeah, Sean's a stud. He's a great guy.
He's a rock star.
For sure, yeah.
And I like, whenever I see a good non-alcoholic beer, I'll go check it out and tell him about it.
Yeah, because is he at a year now? Like,
he's past a year.
Yeah, good for him.
Going strong.
That's awesome. My wife did the same thing. I almost made it. I broke a couple of times. Like, it's hard with tastings and menu development and stuff for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my excuse. I also just like to have some beers.
Well,
so I broke
like,
a couple of times, but
I find that by, like, implementing non-alcoholic beer, like, for example, New Year's Eve, I just spent the whole evening having non-alcoholic beer. And a lot of people didn't even notice the difference. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home, kind of tired. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I pounded 11 beer, but they were all non-alcoholic. So we're good.
You're like,
we're gassy.
Yeah, I'm gassy, and we're peeing just as much, but
yeah,
I can still see straight.
Yeah, totally. And it's just, I made really good use of the next day. I went to a spin class. I went to a yoga class. I fell asleep in Shavasana. Typical day for me.
As you would.
Yeah.
That's good, man. Yeah, it's when we did that year, it was very eye-opening. I don't really drink much. Like, it's just not a priority for me to party and drink. Like, being social is, I'm certainly not jaded from the industry, but it's kind of like being social for me now is a job. Like, I have to do it kind of thing. It's an amazing blessing that I've created this life that I can say that and sound like it's a job, but a lot of people, I'm sure, are like, what a great problem to have. But going out, getting drunk, like, it's, being social and being sloppy are two completely different things. And to be real, like, I don't have time to be hungover. Like, I'm about to be a dad. Like, I'm about to have twins too. So, to go from being a super busy business owner that, maybe I make myself busier than I need to be by taking on stuff. But I honestly, if I'm hungover, my whole week is shot because I have so much to do and I can't not do it. So I'm putting myself through the ringer and not getting sleep. And, you need to, just like running a marathon, you need to recover from. It's a marathon. Getting drunk's a marathon, right?
Yeah.
So your body is like dying and I don't have time to recover. So then I get sick and I'm like, man, I feel super 34 years old right now. I just don't have time for it anymore.
Well, I mean, that's, like, very relatable for me because while maybe my whole day won't be filled as much as yours, I'll have, like, these crazy hours that I'm up. Like, on a weekend, I'll be up till, like, 4:30 a.m. And then a weekday I'll be up at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And, like, some days are packed full. Some days I, like, find a way to have a really good quality nap. And if I was partying at bars, then that would not be sustainable. So, and that's just the way life has to be for me, which is great. Like I love what I have going on. I just think I contrast a lot of the people that I see. As far as your family goes, you alluded to the fact that you had a pretty big family. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So there's four of us, four siblings. I'm the oldest, and my brother is 2 years younger than me. My next sibling is my sister. She's 5 years younger than me. And then my youngest brother is 11 years younger than me. So it's quite a spread. But yeah, we're all pretty close. We don't like talk every day, or, you know, we're all kind of there in Leduc, and I'm in the far side of Short Park, which it's a little bit of a drive. So we don't see each other a ton. But, you know, when we get together, it's like we try and keep in touch over the phone or text or whatever kind of thing. And there's no weird like tension that I know of. Maybe they have a group chat behind my back or something. But as far as I know, you know, we all get along and we all care deeply about each other and support each other. And I try not to be like the unsolicited advice big brother, but sometimes it just happens. It's just in me. So yeah, when we talk, it's kind of like just picking up off the last conversation, kind of like an old friend that you don't see in a while, but you just have that deep connection with. I really feel like my siblings and I have that connection, even if we don't talk for a while, but it's like we get together and it picks right back up. So that's always nice.
One thing that I've noticed, because like you have to be pretty active with like all the social media and all that stuff when it comes to Central, and sometimes I notice like a news company will call it like Central Social House or something like that, and I've seen that your brother has kind of like corrected it. I'm like, totally. What a good brother.
I know. He's always like, he's on it, and then he'll text me actually and be like, hey, was that okay? It's like, I know you have to deal with the wrath of this shit, so like, yeah. Is that okay to say? I'll take it down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's good. Just shut up now, please. Like, you know, or like, you know, I'll kind of even coach him a little bit or something like that on what he can say and what's offensive. And yeah, it's interesting. It's I don't run the Instagram, but Jesse interacts with people on Instagram. I interact with people on Facebook, and then I do the online reviews and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it's goofy. I would never say anything on social media, but it's kind of funny that my brother and my cousin as well both said something. I was like, sweet. There you go, guys. Thanks. Like, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, I mean, from an outside perspective looking in, when somebody's really passionate about it, it kind of like other people take on that passion. So they can see how much this is important to you, and they're like, well, if it's important to Vance, it's important to me. Mm-hmm. And so that is like, for me looking in on it, I'm like, well, this is a testament to how close his family is, whether he says it in the podcast or not. And I think that's really cool.
Totally.
Like when I'm trying to get new clients and stuff, if I do a post, like one of my aunts always shares it, like my siblings share it, like my sister-in-laws share it, like everybody's just like battling hard in the corners for Chris Little's fitness career, and it's the same for your stuff. And I think that's the importance of having like these families, whether we see them all the time, once in a while, but just like that support. We can't undervalue the importance of friends too, because sometimes our friends become our family. Mm-hmm. But just that support circle.
Yeah, for sure. Like that kind of we've got your back type of thing. Like my granny shares everything Central posts.
That's amazing.
Adorable. Yeah.
I'm helping.
Yeah, I'm like, I wonder how many followers she has, or like how, you know, friends on Facebook. But it's awesome. Like, you know, because I get all the notifications, and it's like, oh, Ruth Drynan has shared this post. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing. Well, and the neat thing is, even if it doesn't actually make any difference, like subconsciously it makes a difference with us. Because when I was talking to Ryan Jones and he talked about like the impact of Twitter on a professional athlete, nobody's getting like physically hurt, But a chirp and then another chirp and another chirp, and you're seeing like 1,000 of these a day, will drag somebody down, like whether they admit it or not.
Totally.
And so if like grandma's sharing the post and you got mom and dad sharing the post, whoever's sharing it, like that's like the opposite effect, and you get 1,000 of those, it's like, we're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I don't remember what book it was. It was something I've read recently, but it talks about how the emotional pain has very similar impact on your brain and just your physiology as physical pain or impact or trauma. So I think the example was used something like solitary confinement in jail, how inhumane it is. Oh, you know what? It was Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life or something like that. Great book. The guy, he's like an internationally renowned psychologist, the head of the psychology department at University of Toronto. He's from Cold Lake or Grand Cache or something like that. So it was in the chapter about parenting, which obviously I'm very interested in right now. So it's talking about super controversial, like, I can't remember how it got onto the topic. It wasn't like he was it's a very thin line of discipline. It was on the topic of discipline. It was like, well, what, like, is it okay to discipline your children physically? And he talks about how, like, you know, your kids go off in the wrong direction and, you know, they can be shunned by society or whatever happens. Talks about how in jail, like, solitary confinement has very similar or even more impact on a person's brain and like trauma and just pain sensory and all that stuff as physical. So they're like, and then he compares things within reason. He's like, what's worse? Your kid getting, you know, a flick on the top of his hand or running out in traffic in a busy parking lot somewhere? Like, what would you rather have? If, like, what needs to happen kind of thing to enforce that or make that stop happening? He's like, by all means necessary, but he's like, that should certainly not be your first thing. And there's different degrees, obviously, of physical discipline and violence. He's like, we talk about hitting our kids as if that's what it is hitting our kids. He's like, there's a big difference between, you know, a quick, you know, grabbing your kid by the upper arms to get their attention, or cuffing them with a backhand, you know, like full force. He's like, there's a big difference between physical discipline. I have no idea how we got on this topic.
It's all good. It's all good. I want to talk about your relationship with each parent. We're going to talk about a quality of each that you like. We'll maybe say 3 qualities of each.
Oh, 3 qualities. Should have studied. Okay, so my mom. So I was, when obviously my parents were together when they had me. So they were super young, actually. So my mom was 17 when she got, like, knocked up with me. Finished high school, and then I was born in October, so after the summer. And they were together till I was like 15 or 16, I think, something like that. So I was almost done school. And then that's when they split up. So, you know, I was raised by both of them. But you know, my mom, I really have a ton of respect for the sacrifices that she made for our family. And, you know, growing up, we had some difficult family dynamics and things, and everybody does, right? Like, you know, I won't go into detail on it, but I really have a lot of respect for how hard she worked and the things that she sacrificed for us. Like, she's a server. She's still literally serving. And she's great at it, and it's something that she really enjoys doing, and she can make a good income not having to work, you know, 40 to 60 hours a week. But, you know, doing that with kids at home, she's working till 3-4 in the morning. And then, you know, she misses out on a lot of things with us as well. So she, just the selflessness of my mom to be able to do those things, and the sacrifice and her work ethic, and, you know, how long she kind of held things together before it was like finally it got to a point where where she kind of made that decision where that was it. Selflessness, sacrifice, that's two things.
You nailed it.
Okay, sweet.
You got it.
Awesome. I'm happy with two. So my dad, I would just say, his humility, his ability to when the kind of the divorce and all that stuff happened, like he really he changed, like he transformed. Like that was honestly, it's probably the best thing that's ever happened for him. He was able to completely make a massive transformation. Like he is a different person now. Like if you would have met my dad 20 years ago or 30 years ago versus my dad now, like they are two completely different people. It is crazy. But he is so loving, so gentle, so like caring, supportive. He'll drop everything, like every move I've ever made as an adult, and I've moved a fuck ton. Sorry for swearing. But I've moved a lot, and he'll just he'll take the day off work. He'll go rent a truck. He'll like everything. He's there. And, anything like that, he's super supportive. But just the example that he set of transformation and admitting that there's a change has to be made, and you've got to stop and reflect and look deep inside and do like very hard work I admire the hell out of that. Like it is, it's really helped me recently in the last few years going through some big transformations to just stop and like look inside and get the skeletons out of the closet. And it's really helped me live a really like more authentic, fulfilled life, to be able to see that example happening. Took me a while to get there, but I admire the hell out of that.
And it's kind of cool, like every person that I talk to about like their parents or their siblings or like somebody that's had a pivotal role in their upbringing, you can always see those correlations. But now we're gonna go to the rock solid pillar in your life. How did you meet Morgan?
So Morgan and I met at my uncle's bar in Sherwood Park. It was called Encore Club. I think it's like a Buffet Royale or something now, but it used to be the Palomino. So he bought that with some partners a while ago. I guess it'd be like 12 years ago or something now. Man, it makes me feel old. So Morgan was working there as a server. My mom was the GM there. And I just kind of worked. It was after a breakup. I was in a long-term relationship. So I moved out of there, and then I was staying with my dad, and like I needed money in between and all this stuff. So I just kind of picked up some guest bartending shifts there, and I was working back bar. And it was actually on her birthday that her and a friend brought in, like, it was like the busiest I've ever seen that bar. There was like 200 people there. So I'm at the back bar just trying to keep up with Jaeger bombs like crazy. We had them on special, and she comes up, and we'd kind of chatted briefly before, and she's like, "You're hot. I'm gonna add you on Facebook." I was like, "Okay, sure." Like, working in the bar, you hear that stuff a lot.
It's true, you do.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, "You're drunk." So yeah, she did, and we started chatting, and the staff party was a couple weeks later. And we were chatting, and she's like, just so like, just a genuine, when you meet somebody like that and you're like, this is a real human. Like there's no like this facade, this like show of whatever, and all this stuff is like just not there. Like this is a real human being. And she's just like, what she does, like she works with adults with disabilities, like the work of a saint that she does. It's like so impactful, and she's just so selfless. And man, like, I just, my like pregnancy hormones are getting to me. But like, it's crazy. And within a couple weeks, like we went on a date, and yeah, the rest is history from there.
What was your first date?
First date, we went bowling, and we played the arcade at Old Reds when it was still a thing. So I let her beat me at bowling, and we went down and played some games, won some tickets, got the stuffy or the teddy bear or whatever, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was super fun because I hadn't done that in a while. Like my relationship prior to that was wasn't very fun. Like it wasn't. It was very like we were trying to be adults when we weren't adults yet, kind of thing. So just to like let loose and be real and just go have fun was pretty awesome.
Totally, that's awesome. I'm gonna segue now. We're gonna switch topics and then we're gonna switch topics back.
Okay.
So when I was making my journey from like the warehouse job to the fitness job, it was kind of cool because you were like honestly probably one of the people that heard the most rants from me. Like long messages through Instagram, and like we sort of, I think the first time I messaged you, I saw in your story that you did something where you like pulled out the hairs in your nose with like a tar thing, like a stick, tar on the stick, and you put it in there, pulled it out. And I was like, what the hell? Did that work, man? And you're, oh, it's like the first time I tried it, and like that was our first conversation that I can recall.
That is so random. The
and
magic
then,
of Instagram, hey?
Yeah, and it just kind of grew from there, because like what I noticed is, because I think I was following Jesse, because his Instagram was pretty, like as soon as you start following fitness stuff, it's inevitable. You're going to follow Jesse.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like you started following people first, and I was like, this guy followed me first, and then I followed you back because it just seems like the right thing to do. And then like what got me, I was curious about the nose hair thing, because the guy wants to know how to get rid of the nose hair.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of like, your stories were funny and interesting, and then I can't remember what made me call you out to come to a spin class, but I called you out to come to a spin class.
Yeah, you sure did.
You came, Rob Clark came, and we got the epic Step Brothers picture.
Oh yeah, that thing is epic.
If anybody hasn't seen that, they can scroll through like about 400 pictures on my Instagram.
That was funny. That was a very sweaty photo and awkward to take, but it was fun.
It was hilarious. It was like, well, what are we going to do? And all of a sudden I had this pose, and it worked.
Perfect.
So, but it's just neat, because then from that point forward, it's just the bricks built and built and built, and it's crazy what kind of like friendships you can get from Instagram. Because when I was frustrated or stressed, or I was like, how am I going to make this work? Like, how I've tried these jobs, this isn't happening, and then you'd usually like use some like personal experience, and I was like, this is really helpful, actually.
Good, I'm glad that's helpful. I try to like, it's just natural, like being the oldest sibling, I always just offer advice to people, and I've tried to like scale that back, because I feel sometimes it's a little bit too much, especially when somebody's trying to vent to you and share their experience. I don't want to come across ever as like a one-upper and be like, yeah, well, you think that's bad, like, the empathy versus sympathy kind of thing. But I'm glad that was helpful for you, because I wasn't any of those conversations. I wasn't trying to like one up you and make my experience worse. I honestly was just trying to give you some context and help you out.
Yeah, no, it's always been good, because I'm like, oh, well, and he's doing okay, so I'll do okay.
Yeah.
And that's always been sort of like a thing for me. Like, because you're 8 years older than me, because I'm 26, you're 34.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good math. Yeah.
Sweet. So if something happens to you, if you're making something work, then I can kind of put myself in those shoes, because I'm like, well, here I am, like I'm building up my fitness business, but I'm also working at a bar. And maybe the bar isn't like, it sort of aligns with me in the sense that I see a lot of like trainers that I know, and I've gotten some clients from working at the bar, which is great.
Yeah.
But like, me being at the bar like 2 years from now might not be in my vision plan. But then I see someone like yourself, and you've had to work your ass off and made like lifestyle compromises, just like things where it was like, this is not really comfortable, but this is for the greater good of the future.
Yeah.
And just situations where like, I think everybody that wants to continue the population of Earth has some kind of plan for a family of some sort. And even if it was just somebody that just wants to own a lot of dogs, so be it. But even for myself now, like sometimes I'm like, I should get a dog. I'm like, nope, can't support a dog right now.
Yeah.
Gotta get my life to a place where I can support a dog. But then there's like the aspirations of like, maybe one day I'll get married. Maybe one day I'll have kids.
Yeah.
And you had done so many posts about like starting a family or having a family. It was always like implied, and I was like, he totally wants kids. And when you posted that you're having twins, I was like, yes.
Awesome. A same reaction, except way more tears for me.
Well, that's good. That's good. And then Jesse too, because I'm like,
I know
there's another person. I'm like, okay, he's just like somewhat future Chris. Like we go down different paths, but you're both easy for me to relate to in some way, because we're both like passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like interested in taking care of the people in our lives. And so on that note, like talking about the twins, like what were the 3 emotions that went through your head when it happened? Like when you knew that finally it was gonna go down, like you're gonna be a dad.
Oh man, like just pure joy, like just like the most. Like I'm gonna start crying right now. Like just so like relief, just so much pressure I think that I'd put on myself, and just because in the whole fertility situation, I'm not shy to share this, like it's my stuff wasn't so good, so Morgan's tests were amazing, and the doctors were like, yeah, like I don't know what's wrong, because she should be able to have perfectly healthy and carry and conceive and all this stuff. So it just like it felt like a big failure on my part, and I talked about this. I did like a big post about it too, but I felt like it was important to share because I got in this bad place. It was probably one of the worst emotional places I've ever been. Like, I don't think that I was ever like seriously considering suicide or anything like that. So, I can't make it. People were in worse situations than I was, but certainly like it was not me. I wasn't myself for a while, and I was just really hard on myself. So sort of to have that news, especially after the work and the roller coaster, and how badly Morgan wanted it, and I know my family and all that stuff, and her family, it just like joy, relief, and I was just so excited and so proud that we had gone through that experience together. And that kind of thing, you read about it a lot. It breaks up a lot of marriages and relationships. And going through that together, I really feel like, if anything, it just made us stronger and kind of more together. Yeah. Makes
sense. And I think it's important, like part of the brand of this podcast is just to make people more resilient and strong. Like, we're not selling ebooks or anything on here. Yeah. And a lot of people are going to be in that situation. Like, I think of myself, like what happens, like I'm not going to have a kid next year. It's probably going to be when I'm in my mid-30s or something. Mm-hmm. What happens if I was in the same situation? I was like, man, like I'm the only one this happens to, and I'm in the dumps now. Like, it's so important to tell people stories. Yeah. Because I think of myself and I'm like, if future Chris gets in this situation, future Chris wants to know that he's not alone, kind of thing. Yeah. Do you think anything was it like a stress that contributed to it, or you just drew the short straw? Yeah, I'm sure, like stress, my just the highly demanding workload and schedule that I have created for myself, that is maybe unnecessary. I don't know. I went through a pretty big partying phase. So I was like, I consider things like that, like, especially when you're going through the dumps of it and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I did this to myself. Like, what an idiot, all this stuff. Like, I'm not, those thoughts of like, I don't even deserve to be a dad. That's why this is happening to me. Like all this stuff. Right. So, you go back and you retrace everything that in your mind like contributed to why this is happening to you, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was, neither could any of the doctors or anything like that, but
it's just, yeah, it's an absolute miracle and blessing that we're not only having one but two. So that's what I'm focused on is that's totally incredible.
I think that's the important thing to focus on. It's just like we can't change what we can't change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody's going to get, like, everybody's life is an up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Everybody's ups look different, everybody's downs look different.
Yeah.
And so if we just like settle with that and don't dwell on that, then we're good.
Yeah, that's what makes life worth living. If you don't have that, if there's just like a constant, everyone got the same kind of handout, the same thing, and you're always happy, you wouldn't be happy. You can't always be happy, because happy only happens because sad happens. Like there has to be that ebb and flow of life, and it's I think just kind of something for me that I've really bought into recently, that I've always, kind of heard, and I've got people in my life like Amber Campina, Jesse's wife, Ashley Milky, who's somebody I've worked with in the past, and just like really positive people that have taught me about acceptance and suspending judgment and not making things bigger than they are. Like I've always kind of had that understanding, and it kind of clicked for me recently after all this stuff happened that everybody's going to go through shit, but you just have to kind of accept that, like, even as minor as traffic, like, road raging is something that I'm working on for myself, because I'm can be a bit of an aggressive person. So I just, I've literally had to stop myself and say, I am in traffic. This happens. Yep. This is happening. It's not good or bad. It just is. Like, that is what is happening. Interesting. Like saying things like, interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Instead of like, get on my way. Like, it's just, yeah, I just got cut off. That happened. I'm alive. I'm well. I'm still on the way to my destination.
It's funny that you like say it like that, because one of my trainer friends, Anthony Harder, he finally gets a shout out on the podcast. One of the coolest things of the many things that he's taught me was to like talk to your clients about traffic. Like, you're in traffic, if you get all like fired up and then you walk into your session and like your shoulders are up to your ears and veins are popping out your forehead, like, how good do you really think that session's going to be? Like, how much like muscle activation do you really think you're going to get? Like, your range of motion is going to be affected. Your central nervous system is not going to be what it could be. Like, just relax. When you can't change the time that you're going to arrive at your session, just get into a good space for the time that you're in traffic, and do what you have to do to fix the next situation. Don't let it like stack on and stack on and stack on. And in the same sense, when you're running a session, you don't want to like put somebody through something that puts them in a state of shock and then boot them out the door. So like, something that I try to implement, and I think a lot of great trainers in the city do the same, is like if you're having them do something that's like high demand, physically demanding, you get them to work on maybe some mobility stuff to sort of leave them with a feeling of ease, and it makes the fitness session a little more sustainable, where they associate their time, their session in the gym with like, I'm good now. Like, I feel strong, but like at ease and in my zen. Like, the Buddha's around the corner, we're good.
Totally.
There's no bears.
Yeah.
But it's simple concept. But if you actually apply it, like, it makes clients so much happier.
Yeah.
Because they're like, every time I leave my session, I feel happy. And then if you keep reminding them about traffic, like, I can't say it enough. I'm like, if you're on White Mud or Henday, just go, and like, that was something that came from Anthony, so I have to give him credit, but I use it all the time, because clients start doing that, I start doing that, and anxiety drops dramatically. I'm just happier. And when you're late, you just communicate you're going to be late, and most people are going to understand. We've all been on the exact same roads. We've all gotten lost at least once. Some of us, like myself, I get lost a few extra times, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But just these simple things. On our next little topic jump, you've talked about living out of a car many times.
Okay.
So I'm like, What is this story? Like, what were you doing? What was your job? What was life like then?
Blurry, honestly. that was a rough time, transitional period in my life. So I honestly couldn't even pinpoint a lot of things that happened in that timeline. There was a lot of partying. There was some illicit drug use. There was lots of different people in and out of my life. And yeah, I moved around a lot, stayed on people's couches. I lived out in the mountains for a while. I worked for Fairmont, which was a super cool experience to kind of learn that fine dining side of things. Moved back and it was like kind of, I might have been working at the time, probably in some bars. My buddy and I had a pub crawl company at one point. I was in post-secondary school for architectural technology at some point because I was really good at that stuff in high school and in options. What was it called? AutoCAD, like a drafting program. I actually went to the Canadian skills competition for it. So I had a knack for it, but I didn't like it. So I dropped out. But it was just, it was in between times where I didn't give a shit about anything. Like my main concern was partying with people and meeting new girls every night. That was my biggest focus in life, was very self-destructive, nothing productive, nothing moving myself forward, no sense of planning, execution. It was just fly by the seat of my pants. And there was periods, multiple periods of a time where if I couldn't stay on a couch, I had a 1984 Civic hatchback that the lock on one side didn't work, so I actually had to bend the window back to get in sometimes. It was awesome. But the seat folded back, and I had a little foamy mattress in there, and even when I wasn't living in my car, I still had it for convenient situations sometimes. But there's short stretches where I was living in the car and showering at the gym or wherever I could and just kind of making it happen. It wasn't like a sacrificing for the greater good inspirational story. It was man, this guy's a mess. He needs help kind of thing. And I don't really know what got me out of that. I think it was a long-term girlfriend kind of forced me
you in the head.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a very healthy relationship, but it was the one I needed. You know what I mean? The timing couldn't have been better because she was very strict, and it was what are you doing? So it got me out of that life, thank God, because I might not even be here. But just different. That was a different Vance, different time for me, for sure.
Well, it's crazy because I'll tell you right now, nobody that knows you would even guess. They would see you as a clean cut, really ambitious business professional. Mm-hmm. So to know this is good.
Mm-hmm. I still had, and honestly, I still had just as much ambition, but it was my priorities were all wrong. My ambition was getting more girls, getting more opportunity to party, being just more involved in whatever that scene was. And I was successful at those things. My priorities were, but they were wrong, and just the direction was just different. Same core attributes, maybe principles and direction, just way different now.
Yeah, totally. And it's not rare for myself. I've always been somebody that cares about people and wants to sort of build a community or get lots of people together. Mm-hmm. But I just haven't always been in settings where I was going to be able to make that happen. I haven't been in settings where that was conducive. So there's been plenty of different versions of Chris too. And when people don't see where people have come from, then they just think that they just got it, that it just came to them. Yeah. They don't understand that they're going to need to put in work to get what they want out of life.
Oh yeah, you gotta jump off the edge. You gotta, man, reinvention. I talked about this with my dad. It's it is crazy hard work to stop what you're doing and really, just like stick a wrench in it, stick in the spokes kind of thing, and just like reinvent and do the work and look inside, and just the process of like refocusing yourself, of finding what's really important and aligning with your principles is very hard work, but probably the most important thing you can do, because now I can kind of not live on autopilot. Like I don't want to take it for granted, but now like I'm so clear on kind of the direction that I'm going in life and what's important to me, and values and principles and things like that I don't even have to articulate it. It's just everything that happens around me kind of goes in that direction. Like my decisions, I don't have to think about decisions anymore. They just happen. Like I can make calls on the fly, because I am, for the most part, of course everyone strays in different directions once in a while, but for the most part I am so focused and moving in one direction that there's just this kind of everything gets sucked into moving that direction that's around me as well.
I think a big part of it is you're in your pursuit of genius. You're doing something that utilizes all of your best qualities, and by doing that you're going to have other people that want to help you, and it's just going to come a lot easier. Whereas if you were in something that you could be excellent at, and I think I'm quoting this from somebody's book probably, but if they want to know, I can DM them the link to the book. But just being in that area where it was uncomfortable to get there, but you got good at being uncomfortable, is going to make you more consistent and make it more sustainable, which is great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are scared to get to that point in their life, where like they had to make a sacrifice, or they had to really have like a ground shaking revelation of like, hey, this isn't working, we gotta change things up. But when they do that, when they get really good at being in their zone of discomfort, then they wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. It's the amount of opportunity that opens up outside of your comfort zone. Like if you're looking for that, if that's where you're hanging out, is outside of your comfort zone, there's just like immensely more opportunity. I can't even, like, that is one of the biggest game changers for me, is just one of my old Earls managers, I think, Colin Corbett. He lived in Calgary, probably not listening, but anyways, super influential guy. And he always talked about the circle of concern and the circle of influence. Circle of influence was smaller. It was the things that you could impact directly. Circle of concern would be a little bit bigger. It was things that you might worry about, but you can't do anything about. So the idea was to keep chipping away and keep pushing the edge of the circle of influence. Live outside of the edge, make yourself vulnerable, try things, aim to fuck things up. The more you fuck things up, the more you're going to learn, and you're going to maybe not be good at that thing, but it opens up another opportunity, or somebody sees that you are brave enough to try something and they want to coach you and help you out and do things like that. So kind of the goal was to, if you can make your circle of influence as close to the size of your circle of concern as possible, that's like, that's a great pursuit. That is a worthy pursuit in life, is to things that you're concerned or worried about or could affect you. If you can have more influence over them, why wouldn't you do that? Just all of the opportunity, all that's worth fighting for in life is going to come at some kind of sacrifice, whether it's, physical, emotional, looking good to other people, or whatever it is. If you can kind of suspend that, just that fear and that thought, or get used to it, I get excited about it. Like having twins, everyone's like, aren't you scared? I'm like, no, I am so excited to be way outside of my comfort zone. Like I crave that kind of experience now. Just like to be able to get out and do something different and crazy, and something that I know I'm not going to be good at. Like I like doing things that I know I'm not going to crush. Like I want to do that. Like I want to learn it and get better at it. And again, I went off on a crazy tangent, but I think we were talking about creating opportunity, and it's only in the discomfort zone.
Yeah.
Opportunity does not live in your comfort zone.
Totally. You nailed it. We're going to jump topics again. We're going to like bounce around like Tigger.
Just like my random thoughts.
So I want to talk about the upcoming twins, and because it's something that you're passionate about, something that lights up your eyes, is cool to see.
Sure.
What are 3 things that you're going to do the day that they're born?
The day that they're born, I'm going to, take the day off. Like, really take the day off.
Yeah.
Like, my, I can't say my phone's going to be off because I got to Instagram that shit. But just boomeranging. No.
One the other.
Yeah. Imagine. That's awkward. I won't do that, Morgan, I promise. Be off work and be really present and in the moment for it. I really want to experience that. That's one of my intentions. I'll give Amber another shout out, but she's always got great posts about like, what are your 3 intentions? Let me hold space for you. Mine were presence, building a family, and something else. I can't remember what it was. I really want to be present in that moment. And I know that in order to do that, I have to kind of plan ahead. So I will make sure that everybody understands that I am unavailable that day.
I think everybody will understand.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably more in my head.
Yeah.
Worrying about people like, I wonder how the store is doing, or how this person's doing. Another thing I'll be doing on the day, or what was the question? I'm so sorry.
3 things you're going to do the day that your kids are born.
I'll probably cry a lot. I'm getting soft in my old age. Like, I used to fight kids in the bar and like, just be super like douchey after like in my bar party days. And it was like, I would never be caught dead crying in public or at a movie theater or something like that. And I cry in commercials now. Like I'm getting soft. So yeah, I'll be present. I'll be crying. And I'll be super proud, as supportive as I can. Like it is amazing what Morgan is going through right now. And like, I talk about how she's a saint, and like to be able to create life in your body and like, and carry and, deliver is just like, it's mind boggling, like when it just happens in life. So it's just, for me, it's always just something, oh yeah, that happens. Like somebody had a baby. That's cool. Good for you. I guess we'll be nicer to you or something. Right. But now that it's happening, it's like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like it's amazing. Like it is a miracle of what is happening. I'll be as supportive as possible. I'm already, kind of subconsciously just doing way more stuff around the house. And she's like thanking me. I'm like, oh, am I doing more? Like, I guess I'm just doing it now. So, I just want to be as supportive as possible. And whatever the family needs, you know what I mean? That's, I'm there.
What do the dogs think of the situation?
I don't think they're really aware exactly what's going on. Morgan's exhausted, obviously. She's growing things inside of her. So she's tired, which I think they're relishing in the fact that they get to cuddle mom more. So lots more snuggles. She hasn't been moody at all. Like it's amazing. I don't know if that's like maybe happens later on and I've just cursed myself, but she's been great, super positive, really happy. I think we're just both so grateful for this opportunity finally happening, that like that's kind of overshadowing potential mood swings maybe. But yeah, the dogs are, I don't know, I'm curious to see how they do too.
Have
I kind of want to
seen them around kids before, or?
Yeah, they've been around kids. Like we have nieces, and trick-or-treaters. Like they like kids. They're just really affectionate. So
yeah.
They give tons of kisses. So kids that aren't used to being around dogs all the time are kind of like, holy shit, like kid, what is happening? Because they can be a lot.
Yeah.
But they're just tiny little dogs. I think they'll be very affectionate. They'll be very loving and probably pretty protective, I guess.
Yeah, no, like the way I see it, I'm like, that'll be a pretty neat little family. You have like a dog to kid ratio, and everybody's got each other's back. If anybody tries to mess with the dog, kid's got the dog's back, and everybody tries to mess with the kid, dog's got the kid's back.
Totally.
So You're good to go.
I really want to like saddle up the dogs. Like at some point, I feel like there's got to be a good weight ratio where it won't hurt the dogs for photos or something.
You probably got like a 1 day window, and then the kids are too big.
As soon as they're out, yeah. Bring them to the hospital for the photo op.
Yes. That's awesome, though. So now we're at the last question. This is a question that everybody gets. If you were to give one piece of advice to our listeners on how to authentically live your life to the fullest, what would that piece of advice be?
I gotta say, it's kind of, I guess, a combination out of some of the things that I have been talking about today. But just like really being able to, I think it's important for everybody to just stop what they're doing and really reflect and dig in. Like, do the work, like go to the places that you don't want to go or you don't think you have to go. Like, do the healing, do the meditation, do the yoga, be with yourself, like dig deep inside, and find out what is really important to you. You know, I kind of grew up, we moved around a ton, so I never really belonged anywhere until high school. We finally settled down. So I was always kind of like, you know, maybe I'm with this crowd or whatever. So I think growing up that kind of molded me, and maybe that's why I went through that bad phase where I just got sucked into a bad time in my life. But it wasn't until I was quite a bit older, like almost in my 30s, where I really like stopped and like spent the time and did the work and just broke down and broke through all that stuff and unpacked all this baggage. And I just think it's so important that people do that and find ways to make, you know, consistently do that, and you know, find out, just do the work to find out who you are and just be that person. It's gonna, you know, the truth will set you free kind of thing. So dig through, find what your principles are, align yourself in that direction, and just go.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thanks for making time for me and hanging out today.
Absolutely. It's awesome, man. Thanks.
And we'll see you around soon, I'm sure.
Sounds good.